Hello, the internet. Happy Friday. Was there another human person in this room mere seconds before the stream starts? You'll never know, but the answer is probably yes. Hello and welcome to Enter the Popverse. I am your host, Ashley Victoria Robinson, your video producer here in the Popverse, which is, of course, a virtual realm created by Read Pop, where we are celebrating the best in TV, movies, and comics each and every single day. Oh, my computer's telling me that I was signed out of Zoom, which is completely fine. And I don't know why it felt the need to tell me, but now everybody here knows this too. If you want to follow everything that we get up to here at Popverse, you want more details on any of the incredible stuff that we are creating each and every single day, of course, go over to thepopverse.com to get the full and complete fun business. And while you're over there, why not get yourself a Popverse membership? We've talked a lot about these recently on Enter the Popverse, how incredible they are, the kind of access they get you. And with something, like a little teeny tiny small indie show like New York Comic Con coming up October 12th to 15th, where me right here, am hosting the Ewan McGregor main stage panel. You're probably going to want to get a membership, especially if you can't be there in person, because it's going to let us have all kinds of fun access. Jake Hefner launching the comments. Happy Friday, Popverse. How all is lovely and well with everyone. Hope everything is lovely and well with you too, Jake. It's so exciting to be back live. We had a pre-recorded episode last week sharing our SDCC interview with Rom V, but since we are here live, I think the best thing to do is to bring in my first guest, who's going to talk to us about one of the most important journalistic trends that I think Popverse has pioneered, nay, perfected in the online journalism industry. Tiffany Babb. Hi, Tiffany.
Hello. It's good to see you.
How are you?
Good. We were just talking about worrying about the storm coming in this weekend. So it's very sunny right now, but it will not be in like 2 days.
We're trying to keep as high and dry as possible. But if people are looking for some fun things to do this weekend that don't involve sandbagging their homes, you did something this week that I think you should tell everyone about, and it's become this accidental series on Popverse. So, Tiffany, Tell me all about it.
I went to McDonald's. What a shocker. What a wild trip. I went so far. I went like 2 minutes down the street to McDonald's to try out their new meal. They have this new thing called like As Featured In, where they're kind of highlighting how McDonald's has appeared in different television shows and movies throughout the years. And the big tie-in thing is this LOKI sauce. It's your normal sweet and sour sauce, but with LOKI branding on it, which, take it or leave it. It is exactly the same as a regular meal. But I went, I ate some fries. I ate 10 chicken nuggets, which is more than I normally eat. But they were there, and I had sweet and sour LOKI sauce.
I think it is so funny as well that you pointed out in this piece that you have to order the chicken nuggets if you want the full sauce experience.
Yeah, because there's 2 other meals. It's like the quarter pounder and something else. And it's like, those are also as featured in meals, but obviously those don't come with your chicken nugget sauce. So you have to get the chicken nuggets.
So I want to ask, because this is not the first tie-in or brand-specific meal that we have talked about on Popverse in any way, shape, or form. Do you think that you got the better end of the deal than the other burger?
That's a good question. So Josh Bertone did a Spider-Verse burger, which was a red Burger King burger. Yes, I do feel like I have the better end of the deal because I did not have to eat the red burger, nor did I have to go to Burger King. I'm much more of a McDonald's person than a Burger King person in general. I don't even know where the closest Burger King is. So I'm glad I did not have to eat Burger King. But also, Josh got to get ice cream, which was like Spider-Man themed ice cream. And I did not get to get ice cream. So I feel a little cheated by that. So McDonald's needs to hop on and do a LOKI ice cream so I can go have ice cream.
Wait, so if they were to do a redacted struck work ice cream, what flavor should it be?
I was going to say mint because it's green, but there must be like something.
And McDonald's is known for the Shamrock Shake, right? Like that's a big thing.
Oh my God.
So
yes, that's the tie-in.
Graeme McMillan chiming in, wait, what is this anti-Burger King chat? I knew the second you said that this was going to be the most divisive thing that we have ever talked about.
This is how I go down.
Popverse at Exploding Arrow. You can add Tiffany on Twitter.
You can add me all you want. You're not going to change my opinion. I haven't been to a Burger King in like a decade.
I love knowing that. I want Nando's tie-ins. I want like every random tie-in that we could possibly get. Besides the whoa, Jake Hefner is coming down on Tiffany's side.
Yes. McDonald's.
Now
pride.
everyone is fighting amongst themselves. Overall, for anybody who is a fan of upcoming Redacted Struckwork series, would you recommend that this particular tie-in at McDonald's is worth people's time, or just like if you're passing through kind of thing?
No, I mean, it's like not even noticeable. Like, I think multiple people were having the exact same meal, but didn't even know they were having the meal.
Yeah.
Like the branding is so small. There's like, the bag is like really plain and it just has names of television shows. So there's no like logos or pictures or anything. It's a really weird promotion. Like it seems like, you know, if there was a sitcom and they were doing like a fake McDonald's promotion, making fun of promotions, like generic promotion, this feels like the world's most generic promotion. So no, I wouldn't recommend it. But like, I guess if you're a diehard, or like people are selling the sauce on eBay already. So like if you're like a sauce collector and you think you're going to make your money in collecting sauce, I guess you could give it a go. But yeah, it is not really worth considering.
It's very evocative of a couple years ago. McDonald's did another tie-in sauce to another genre television show, and that really lit itself on fire. It was part of the fandom before. It feels like we're trying to copy that, except with just a green logo.
Yeah, and Loki and Rick and Morty are not like Rick and Morty fan base will go, BTS fan base will go get the BTS sauce. I don't know if Loki fans, maybe in 2012, I don't know if now Loki fans would go get mixed sauce, especially now since you can get like Avengers stuff everywhere, like, or Loki stuff everywhere. Like that, I think BTS is special, obviously, but like back in the day, Rick and Morty, I guess you could get Rick and Morty stuff too, but like it was less, you wouldn't see like these big corporate crossovers as often with that. But like you're going to see more Loki corporate crossovers between now and when the show comes out.
Oh, for sure. And I'm sure we'll talk about them because we've really enjoyed talking about them here on the show. Tiffany, I also want to ask you about a poll that we have been running on popverse.com and some of the things that people should be contributing, perhaps. I'll say, if people want to weigh in the comments, I'll give a vote to whoever gets the most votes in the comments. So Tiffany, what's up with the poll?
Our Flag Beans Death poll. It's not like a favorite character poll. It's a favorite cast member poll, which is exciting. And yeah, we're closing the poll next week and we're going to announce who the winner is. Some people have pointed out online, one of the actors is getting a lot of support from his fans. So if you feel strongly about any actor and want to give a vote and have your voice heard, give a vote. I mean, it's a fun show. I know people are really excited about the second season coming out sometime in the fall is what they're saying. We don't have an official date yet. But yeah, while we're waiting, might as well see what people think about who their favorite cast members are.
Tiffany, have you voted yet?
I have voted.
Whomst did you vote for?
I voted for Samson Kayo. I don't think I've ever heard it said aloud.
Well, then we're saying that we did our best, and we did our best respectfully.
We did our best. Who plays Oluwande, who's like my favorite character from the show. I think he's so good. Like, it shocks me that like he's not winning this poll already, so everyone should vote. He is so good in that show, and he's so funny, and he's like the heart of the show in a lot of ways. So yeah, he's my favorite.
Is that who we should vote for here before I close this window, Tiffany?
That's who I would vote for if I were you, but I can't pressure anyone to vote any specific way. I'm an unbiased party, right? So vote with your heart.
She's maintaining her journalistic integrity. Remind folks again when the poll closes, please.
Next Wednesday. Okay. I'm not 100% sure the time. I think it's like noon Pacific. It's on the article, so if you want to double check, but it is next Wednesday.
Hey, right there.
Yes, I was right.
What? You were. It's almost like you're great at your job. 2 Pacific,
Almost.
3 Eastern. Almost. For you, as a thank you for you.
Yay!
There we go. Let's see. Oh yes, we have a very clear and I will say unsurprising, well-deserved, of course, lead. So, folks, if you want to, have your voice heard, I was going to say strike the balance, but I don't think that's the word that I want. Be sure that you're voting before Wednesday. And if we have a really nice turnout, a really fun turnout, maybe we'll have Tiffany back and we'll talk about how it all shook out.
We'll see.
Tiffany, before I banish you back into the Popverse, is there anything else that people need to know about you and what you're getting up to in the Popverse?
Gosh.
It's not a trick
question. All of a sudden, I'm just like, what have I been doing? What have I been doing? There have been a couple really great articles out. Graeme McMillan, who will be on later, has this great piece out today about Nightcrawler's parents maybe being retconned and changed to a very famous preference for a lot of people. So that's definitely worth checking out. There's a great Good Omens piece by Jim McDermott about goodness and Aziraphale's journey. So check out Popverse, check out the really great writing we've got published this week.
Tiffany also made a really adorable reel tying into McDonald's that you can find on our Instagram. So please go and check that. Tiffany's been dipping her foot into the video side of things, and we're very proud and happy to have her.
I'm much worse than our actual amazing video people at it. I have been making video.
They're great. And I will say all glory to any real skills that I have, to Ileana for teaching them to me. Tiffany, thank you for joining us. I'm pretty sure we'll have you back next week. Stay dry, my friend.
Yes, stay dry. Stay, okay, everybody who happens to be in the path of this storm.
Yeah. I love you very much, and I will see you next time.
Oh.
Okay, friends, I know you're here because I made a really good graphic design professional level thumbnail with this person's incredibly beautiful and sexy face on it, and you are coming to ask all of the burningest questions in your soul. So this is your warning, reminder, encouragement to get your comments in the chat, and we will do our best to answer them as they come in. Please join me in the traditional Enter the Popverse Theater Kid round of applause in welcoming for the first time to enter the Popverse, Mr. Tom King. Hi, Tom.
What an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me on.
You have to say that, but it's so nice to hear it.
Yes. Well, I'm mostly on here to talk about different sort of villain sauces at various locations.
Can I ask, of all of the villains that you have written or aspire to have written, which would you most like a tie-in sauce for?
I think Kite Man needs his own sauce. It just tastes like despair, for that special moment.
It just tastes like beer with a stale cigarette inside of it. All I'm saying is the whole internet is out there. Let's get Tom some corporate sponsors. Let's bully Tom into doing an unboxing video where he has to eat the whole thing no matter how horrible it is. That's very funny. And Graeme says, poor Kite Man.
Hi, Graeme. Hi, Graeme.
Also, Popper says that you give a very good handshake. Tom, what is your handshake technique?
I think when I do a signings, I always shake hands of the people who sign because I have a death wish and I want to get sick and ill. No, yes. I just think it's just a nice way to immediately connect with someone who comes up to you. So I don't think it's anything particular about me, but just that's why I like to greet people and they come to signings. So they know that it's a very awkward moment. You coming up to someone. I always think of them like I could be going to you because I spent years in these lines. So it's just a nice way to be like, we're just two human beings who are here. Let's have a moment.
Who was one of the first people that you ever remember going to a signing for, queuing up for?
So I didn't go to cons as a kid because I was almost too nerdy. I kind of hid my nerd. I was scared to go to cons and meet people. I'd go to big sales where they'd sometimes have people, but I didn't go to real cons to meet comic until I was maybe 30, post CIA. So I remember waiting for Walter Simonson. Which was a big deal. And I asked him the stupidest question of all time, and I'm still embarrassed. I was like, what do you like better, writing or drawing comics? I was they very much remember standing up to I know a lot about comics. I'm right. I waited in line to see Bendis. I waited in line to see Scott Snyder. I waited in line to see Ron Wilson, who gave me my first sketch. I waited in line to see Jeff Lemire, Rick Remender. bunch of guys. I would give them a free copy of my book. I was that annoying guy. I'd be like, I wrote a book and I want to break into comics. And they'd be like, sweet, here's something and throw in the trash. But it was everyone was very nice.
The first time I ever met Jeff Johns, he said, "Hi, I'm Jeff," and I said, "I know who you are," which is one of the more horrifying interactions I've ever had with a human being. So we're all in good company. And then when I talk to Graeme later, I'm going to get him to embarrass himself with a question. But Tom, we're here to talk about you and how amazing and how beautiful and sexy you are and how many Eisners you have and how many Eisners you're going to win for everything. Tom did not sign off on any of my questions, so it's going to be a super fun, happy time today, friends. I want to get into it by asking, because you've been staying in the world of like DC Black Label and very adult and dark and scary comics for the past couple of years, but now you're returning to like main continuity. Is that exciting? Is that nerve-wracking, stepping back into the main DCU with Penguin and Wonder Woman?
No, it's not exciting at all. It's all nerve-wracking. I have no, there's no, I'm not like, no, I'm a generally anxiety-ridden person. I'm sure you would never know that from the comics I write. And the idea of, stepping into main continuity. I've written some things that are in continuity, but they were kind of like time pass, like Gotham Year One and done some Batman stuff. But I had not written mainstream. Like this morning I was on the phone with Chip and Josh talking about like crossovers and stuff. And it's incredibly nerve-wracking. I mean, I grew up here. I mean, I did 5 years on the main Batman title, so I should know how to do it. It should be like riding a bicycle. But if you've ever seen me ride a bicycle, then you know it's a disaster. So I have to relearn everything.
Oh, no. We have a great question from MP who says, how do you reconcile Diana being an ambassador for peace, but also a hardened warrior? Seems that the warrior aspects get more emphasized lately. Tell me your approach to Diana, Tom.
I think that's exactly, like in looking at Diana, I think one of the problems is sometimes she's put up on too much of a pedestal and just treated to be sort of perfect. And a perfect person is hard to relate to. And none of us are perfect. And it's hard to have empathy with a person that's like that. And I think in trying to find what gives her great character and trying to find her flaws, I came up under Chris Claremont's X-Men, where every superhero had sort of a cool flaw. Like Rogue, she couldn't touch people with her power, so she couldn't kiss anyone, or and so that kind of stuff. And I think exactly what you're talking about is what makes Wonder Woman interesting. The fact that she is someone who is so for peace, but finds herself a warrior. Like she's constantly failing. Every time she punches someone, she's failed in her job. I think that gives her some gravity and some something that makes her human. That the fact that she does not want to be a superhero. She wants us to live in peace and love, and yet here she is as a warrior, as a fighter, and so her own success is her failure. I think that makes her fascinating as a character.
I felt that like in my heart and soul when every time she throws a punch, that's a failure. That's very moving, Tom. I'm having feelings I was not prepared for today. It was so beautiful. We have another great question that I'm definitely not pulling up for incredibly biased reasons that says from Jawin, the question that everyone wants to know, will we see the famous Amazonian purple ray in your Wonder Woman run, Tom?
Yes, but it's mostly because I turn it into a sauce that you get at a special store. And so she's going to go to Burger King and get Amazon purple ray sauce. It's going to be beautiful.
Shouldn't it be Burger Queen?
Oh, yes, absolutely. See, well, that's her tragedy that it's not Burger Queen. You got to have the character arc.
This was not the through line that I was expecting today. I also want to ask about the Penguin run specifically, because following One Bad Day and Riddler, I feel like you've been having this sort of like darker exploration of characters. So what has it been like working on Penguin?
It is very bizarre because Wonder Woman is, for all purposes, she is basically the best character in the DC. And I say as someone who's written Superman and Batman extensively, but like essentially her character is to be the kindest, the nicest, the most empathetic. And Penguin is the exact opposite. He is the worst person in the DCU. He is not empathetic. He's an anti-hero of anti-heroes. He's Walter White sitting over a friend, watching his girlfriend die so he can get better sales. Like he's very evil. And so one week I'll be writing the nicest, kindest character, and the next year I'll be writing a person who will throw your mother under a car to make $1. So it's quite a dichotomy in writing these days. But I mean, it's been an app. I absolutely love it, and it lets me. I did a lot of, when I was on Batman, I did a lot of superhero Batman. You know,
Mhm.
even we started Gotham Girl are on superheroes, and you end with this Bane and these huge fights. And since then, I've always sort of felt like I just want to write street level kind of Gotham Year One, or Batman Year One Batman. And so that's what this is. This is very Sopranos, Goodfellas kind of crime series. It's very sort of grounded and gritty, and it's just I love doing that. Same, just like we did with the Riddler book that Mitch and I did, and like we're doing at this A Brave and the Bold Joker book. Very grounded, very everyday, and very evil.
Ooh, grounded and everyday. Is that a hard thing to scan when you're also writing characters who live in a world of gods like Superman and Wonder Woman, like keeping things real and street level?
Very much so. Yes, but that's kind of my natural instinct. I mean, I wrote a comic book where Batman and Superman go on a date in a carnival.
It's Tom. It's like one of my favorite issues of all time. Is that specific issue?
So yeah, my instinct is always to write them as humans, as characters, and I think that's where you find the joy in these characters, is when you don't see them as sort of these gods talking to each other, but as your brothers and sisters who are having these sort of problems. I think that's what makes them work to me, is finding the humanity in each of them. Because if they're not human, then what's heroic about it? If they're gods being gods, then it's just and when you read the Iliad, the boring parts are about the gods, the cool parts are about the people. That's what I'm saying.
You think the Iliad is boring?
Oh my God! You carrying the second chapter is just a list of names. I had to read that thing for college. Ugh,
this is what we're going to come to fisticuffs over. I love the Iliad, so I think it's so much better than the Odyssey.
It's better than the Odyssey, yeah, because the Odyssey's just like, oh, he goes. The Odyssey is the most disappointing book ever, because you're like, oh, this is going to be about Cyclopses and Circe, and that's like 3 lines in the whole thing. The rest is just like, and then you travel this river and that river and this river. Yeah. I agree with you. The Iliad's better. But that good part about the Iliad is the human conflict. It's Achilles realizing that his boy got killed, and he has to, and he's sad about it. It's awesome.
That Ares coming down. Oh, I can't. I'm giving all this power to Hector. I can't. Tom, we're gonna pin this conversation for another time. MP asks, will we say Penguin interact with other rogues and the Bat family?
Yes. Eventually, I mean, it's a mainstream book, so that you're going to see him go in. It launches right out of Chip's Batman. In Chip's Batman, Penguin has been kicked out of Gotham City. His children have taken over the city, and also Catwoman has taken over a lot of the crime. And this is Penguin going back to sort of rebuild his empire. The idea behind Penguin, or what makes him interesting to me, is like Batman can defeat Crisis, he can defeat Darkseid, he can defeat anyone, and yet the one thing he cares most about is crime in Gotham. And he's never been able to defeat Penguin. Penguin's always been able to operate there. And that suddenly makes him interesting to me. How does that happen? You have to be so evil. You have to do so many bad things to be able to operate in Gotham and run that crime empire. And so it's him rebuilding that thing that defeated Batman for so many years.
Ooh, which sounds like it might be rife for familiar faces. Before we pivot and I do Wonder Woman talk, I think Sean Dillon has a super interesting question saying, what are you looking forward to in the final stretch of Danger Street?
Oh my goodness. Thank you for reading that book with most obscure characters. I am looking forward to issue 9, which comes out in 2 weeks, which is our bottle episode for people who do TV stuff. Danger Street is on some level, it's about 23 characters, but it's generally formatted each thing the same way, where we're sort of looking at, all of their different points of view in each episode, in each comic. And then all that's going to culminate in a big thing. But we're taking, just like most TV shows, we're taking one issue off of the format and focusing down on one storyline, which is this sort of sword battle between Manhunter and Codename Assassin. And I rarely get an issue in letters where I was like, I'm actually proud of this. I'm always like, oh, I could have done it better. But I really think issue 9, which is sort of our bottle episode, which is on an 8-panel grid, and Jorge Fornes drew the crap out of it, is just one of the best things I've ever done. And I hope people just check that out.
Sean also follows up by saying Danger Street is the best book on stands.
You're so kind, Sean. I cannot say how much I love that book. I can't believe it exists. It's so bizarre that book is real and exists. And it comes to Jorge, who gets issues one at a time, just told me he read the ending, and I was very nervous because it's hard when you have 20. Usually I work with one character, Penguin, Wonder Woman. When I have 24 characters that all have storylines and all have to collide, and I only have 12 issues to do it, the ending was obviously the hardest part of that whole thing, and Jorge told me the ending works, so I'm excited about this.
I do think of you as being a master of formatting, and when I was starting to write, I looked at a lot of the way you laid out your stories, so I think if anyone could have handled 24 characters, I would have been like, yes, absolutely, Tom King can handle 24 characters.
By the last issue, I had like a list in my Word document, be like, don't forget this subplot, don't forget this subplot, don't forget, like, just remember all the things you put in here. They all have to be wrapped.
I see you're a plotter and not a pantser.
I don't know where I am. I'm a deadliner. I gotta make that deadline.
All right, let's do Wonder Woman talk, friends. We've put it off. Let me pull up this beautiful, beautiful image. Tom, you talked a little bit about how you've written pretty much all of the big tier characters at DC. What is unique in approaching Wonder Woman for you?
She's very hard. She's the hardest mainstream character I ever had to write, for sure. For a lot of reasons. Lots of people have different ideas about her. She's been revamped so many times. It's hard to even find sort of where she is as a character. Her villains have been revamped so many times. They're hard to figure out where they are as characters, and her sidekick's the same. So her history is very convoluted. Most characters you can sort of take back to their origin story. If you have a lot of convolution, you can take Batman back to that first issue of Batman. You can take Superman back to that first issue of Superman, and still Wonder Woman, it's harder to do that. She was created in a different time and place by a man who had a very specific agenda. Some of that agenda was absolutely wonderful, but some of it is a little dated at this point. So it's hard to take her. You can't just take her back to her origins, which involve a particular man's kinks. And so all of that combined makes her sort of difficult to write, which is kind of why I wanted to do it, because who wants to do anything easy? You got to do the hard stuff, you know? And I found it to be an utter joy. I found it to be, to me, to make her different than Batman and Superman. Because often people describe Wonder Woman with stuff that you could say about Superman. She's kind, she's good, she never gives up, she always fights for justice. And like, you're like, well, that's all. What makes her distinct at all? And so what I found, or when going in and reading stuff, and getting a lot from Gail's run and Rucka's run, is she's rebellious in a way that Superman and Batman aren't. Like, Batman enforces the status quo. He fights crime. Crime is obviously a status quo enforcer. Superman, he's a guy from Kansas who believes in the American way. On some sense, he's like, I just want things to be the way they are, and I'm going to find a way to fix it. And Wonder Woman's not that. She's the rebel against the system. She's the one who says, this is not working. No, thank you. I'm not going to do this anymore. She should never be sort of doing what the majority and what everyone's telling her to do. She's trying to create a better world. And to me, that very much appeals to me with sort of everything that's going on today, because I feel like the generations coming up are generations of they're rebellious generations. The people are saying, I don't like the status quo. I want it to change. And I think that's who Wonder Woman is.
I thought you were going to say with their TikTok videos, so that's why they were so rebellious. You shouted out some great creators, but we love hello, how's it going? We love Tom Trainer's question. Fellow Tom, who says, what Wonder Woman research struck out to you as the most in preparing your run? Have any past writers given you any advice that was especially helpful?
I think for lore, I went right back to George Perez. For personality, I went to Gail. For how far you can sort of stretch the morality of the character, I went to Greg Rucka. For fun, I always like fun, absurd stuff. So yeah, I mean, the Kanigher stuff is just terrible and awful, but I like Kite Man comes from that stuff. So I deeply dug into that.
There's value in everything. You just never know what it is, right?
There really is. And like the Messner Loeb stuff for the ground. I mean, at one point, to go back to our original thing, Wonder Woman worked at a fast food restaurant for a good part of her run, which is a ridiculous thing that happened. And so, yeah, I read so much Wonder Woman. And Phil Jimenez for like the Donna Troy stuff. Like he does incredible with the Wonder Girls. So yeah, I took a little bit from everyone. The best advice I got was from George Perez. And it wasn't from him in person. I went to his funeral in Florida, I think a year and a half ago. And George obviously knew he was going to pass. And he did sort of someone interviewed him about his life, and they projected it at his funeral. And in it, they asked him what his greatest accomplishment was. And he said, taking on Wonder Woman, because so many people have done her wrong. And I feel like I did her right. And I remember that because I was like, I don't want to ever do Wonder Woman because it's too hard. There's just too many spotlights on you. And I was like, I felt like George was calling me out. I was like, okay, yeah, you're right. Like, just because it's hard, we're gonna get it done. So yeah, I feel like I always have George Perez looking over my shoulder and being like, do better.
Well, you couldn't have had truly a better angel helping you with something like this.
Yeah, truly.
Brady White says, that's a cool hat. I also said that to Tom before we started. Tell us about the hat.
It's from it's from an amusement park out here in Washington, D.C. And I personally think the Peanuts is the best comic of all time in terms of combining pictures with words. I think Charles Schulz is I think that's the absolute best of the best. That's my oldest son is named Charlie. That's how deep my nerd goes. So you'll always see me if I can get some Charlie Brown stuff. I'm always happy. That's of course who would guess that I'd love the thing about this sad boy who's nervous all the time, but that's true.
Wait, who's your favorite Peanut? Like, who's your favorite character? Is it Charlie Brown specifically?
Charlie Brown, 100%. Yeah, go for now. My children are I have 3 children, and they very much are personality wise Charlie, Lucy, and Linus. Like, I cannot tell you how they have just conformed to exactly those standards, including my son, who carries around a little stuffed cheetah instead of a blanket, but it's everywhere he goes. Yeah, they're very, and my daughter is rancorous. She's wonderful. It's great.
You manifested it into reality.
I somehow manifested it into. I relate so much to the comic strips. I can't say.
I also co-sign. I think the Peanuts are like the greatest thing that comics medium has ever done. Tom, you have shared a lot of your advice and your struggles, but what is your single best piece of advice to aspiring comic book creators? Because I'm sure there's a bunch of people watching now and in the future.
I mean, I always, if someone asks me advice, I say the very practical advice. Alan Moore, who's maybe you've heard of him. He writes some good comics. He wrote a book. He wrote a very short book about how to write comics. And like, I could sit here and tell you things, but you could just buy that book. It's like $8 on Amazon. So like, as a very practical thing to do, this is the way I did it. Just go on Amazon, buy Alan Moore's How to Write Comics, and read that thing, because you'll learn a ton about story, structure, character, and from a master. And he wrote it like right after Watchmen. So this is a master at the top of his game, and it's funny. So just as a very practical advice, go out, buy that book, and take a day and read it, and you'll learn a lot about comics.
All right, we're going to do one last question from the chat and then one last question from me. So I want to end from the chat with Eamon's World of Geek, who says, Tom, do you have any creator-owned comics releasing soon?
Well, I still have one out called Love Everlasting, which
it's so good. We did an interview about it last year.
I know, you're so nice. We just finished our second arc. We're just starting our third. Then there will be a bit of a pause while Elsa, w's too talented to keep, starts writing her own stuff out there. She's just so freaking genius. But yeah, the third arc is starting soon. It's wonderful. I have a book from Boom. They just teasingly announced. Me and Peter Gross and I are doing a book, which is probably the most ambitious thing I've ever done. And that makes me even more nervous than Wonder Woman, which is hard to say. And then I have 2 more creator owns after that, which should be announced, I don't know, sometime soon. Maybe I think one will be announced at New York City, which is which I think will be the most popular of any creator own I've ever done. It's very cool.
Ooh, you've said that.
That's a spectacular artist, like a shockingly good artist.
Okay, and then my final question, because here in the Popverse, we celebrate the best in TV, movies, and comics. So what are you geeking out about right now that you are not working on? And knowing that there's a strike, it's probably what you're reading. Reality television.
I took the last year, I have no idea how this is going to pay off, to completely geek out on Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Song of Ice and Fire. I had read all the books and watched all the shows, but I reread all the books, read the ancillary books I had not read yet, got like little statues. I rewatched all the shows. I read all the blogs. Like I deep dove nerd into the Game of Thrones universe. I have no idea how that's going to pay off in my life or why I did it, but I can tell you right now, the difference between a Royce and a Stark. If you want to go Game of Thrones, I can go deep right now. That's been my nerd for last year.
Wait, then my actual last question is like, which house would you belong in?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Because you busted out Royce, so I know you're gonna have a good answer.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think like I'm tough enough or cold enough to be a Stark, or cool enough to be from Dorne.
None of us are cool enough to be from Dorne. I mean, honestly.
Maybe I just be from the Eyrie because I like to be by myself a lot and write in my room.
Oh yeah.
And they're kind of underestimated. They're like the Knights of the Eyrie, or like
you throw your villains out the moon door every once in a while.
Yeah, and the Riverlands, they betray everyone all the time, so they kind of suck. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Airy because I feel like they're underestimated there. Yeah,
I like that. Good answer. Tom King, thank you for joining us live. Thank you for coming back and talking to me. I adore you deeply, and it's always a pleasure to get to pick your brain, especially in front of other people.
I adore you. Thanks for doing this. This puts food on the plates of so many comic people. People buy comics not to just read them, but it's a ticket to a community, and you are one of the leaders of that community, and I'm incredibly grateful to you.
Oh, I hope I'll see you in New York, and if not, I hope I see you very soon.
I'll be around. Thanks.
Okay. Bye, Tom.
Bye.
Friends, how awesome was that? How inspiring was that? Tom is so smart. I always feel really dumb when I talk to him, but that's how I know that I'm having a great time and it's a great interview. So let's head into our next segment with the person who always makes me feel very dumb, the smartest contributor to Team Popverse. Please join me in the traditional Theater Kid round of applause in welcoming our unofficial co-host, Graeme McMillan. Hi, Graeme.
I'm glad you cut to me now. Otherwise, you would have heard me laughing too much when you called me the smartest person in Team Popverse, which is bluntly untrue.
I will absolutely unironically die on that hill. You are the smartest person.
I don't want you to die ironically or unironically at all. That was a great interview. I very much enjoyed you and Tom talking there.
Tom makes it so easy.
He's a good guy.
But now we're here to talk about you, and we're here to talk about webtoons because I said, I don't know nothing about this. And it's fascinating. And we have done a lot of comic industry talk lately, but this one really fascinates me. Webtoons is going to fight Apple and Amazon?
I love this. I love this. So the writers talked to the CEO of Webtoon, and they basically said it was an earnings call, and they were talking about how Webtoon is successful, yada yada, and it was brought up that both Apple and Amazon are getting into vertical scrolling comics, and they're pretty big companies. You might have heard of them.
Maybe little.
And Apple's getting into really subtly. They've added some vertical scroll stuff to the iBooks.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and they're pretty much downplaying it. It's only in Japan. It's really downplayed. But Amazon Japan has launched Fliptoon, which is a whole thing. Tiffany, you're wrong. Amazon's launched Fliptoons, which is a whole thing. It's a branded effort. They're quite clearly going after this market. Again, Amazon is not a small company. Mm-hmm. And the Webtoon guy basically is just like, yeah, no, they'll have to buy us out if they want to beat us. We are by far superior to this, which is great. It's so...
He's not wrong.
No, that's what I was going to say. Like, it's so confident, but he's also completely right. Because as he points out, they have 900,000 creators on there.
Mm-hmm.
You can stop putting these comments up. They have millions of readers. They have all the demographic information on all of these things. They, as the CEO said, they can tell you who is reading what and when. They know exactly what is being read, what is popular, what isn't.
Hold on, I'm going to close my Darby's latest installment.
But they have all this, and everyone else, even an Amazon, even an Apple, is coming to this late.
Mm-hmm.
And they can't really catch up. There's this great line he says at the end of the interview where he's basically saying Clark's also stop it. What is going on?
Keep complimenting Graeme.
Nope, I hate this, and I very much hate that you keep bringing this up. There's this great thing in the interview where the Webtoon CEO more or less says, if you want to beat us, you have to buy us out.
Yeah.
Which is, again, so shockingly confident, but also entirely right. He knows exactly what he's doing. And I want to know
what the number is, because everybody has a number. Everyone will sell out for something. I want to know, like, how many millions of dollars that buyout would cost. I'm so curious.
I'd be very curious how much they'd sell for it and if anyone would be willing to pay it.
Yeah.
Because I strongly suspect it's worth whatever they're asking for it.
100%.
I don't think, I should say, I don't think they're really selling. I don't think they really are. I think he said it as a, screw you line. I don't think he was making a serious comment. But I could see Amazon paying something for it. I really could. It's worth pointing out that Amazon in the past has tried to launch comics. Amazon had Jetpack, a decade or so ago. Then they bought Comixology as well.
we've also talked about Comixology, and there's always the persistent rumor that Amazon is going to buy this publisher or this publisher or this publisher. And we remember when Kindle Comics leaked for like 45 seconds? Maybe this is what we were driving toward.
Again, why not? Right? There is a massive untapped market there. And Webtoon just continues to grow. When you look at things, when you look at what people are reading, you know, it's not the book market, it's not the comic market. By far the greatest things that are being read are Webtoons or vertical scroll digital comics.
At my very first San Diego Comic-Con for Popverse, so 2 years ago, I was interviewing Dennis Cowan, and I was like, what are you geeking out about that you're not working on? And he was like, oh, those scrolling comics. And I was like, Webtoons? And he was like, yes, Webtoons. And
well, again,
someone that luminary is reading Webtoons, it has like saturated the market.
But you see DC do deals with them. You see Marvel trying to launch their own with their Infinite Comics format. You know, this is where things are going. This is where the audience is right now. And it only makes sense that other companies are going to be like, oh, that's what I want to do. And as the Webtoon CEO said in this writer's piece, it's also, when you do it that way, you have all the market research if you do want to adapt it into other media. Because you know what age group is reading it. You know what is going on with it.
I want to bring up this part of the article because it says somewhere in the region of 900,000 creators. There aren't 900,000 readers of traditional comics, much less 900,000 creators on any platform. Like, that number boggles my mind in the best way possible.
You know, a line above that, 85.6 million users. And that was a year ago.
Yeah. Like,
you know, that's staggeringly big. That's shocking.
It's beyond human comprehension. By the way, since you won't take compliments about your intelligence, I think this is a really good one. The bond of the internet. Bond's relative intelligence is debatable from film to film, you know.
I love how you take that compliment and sort of turn it into sort of an insult.
I thought maybe you could handle it that way.
This is why I love you.
Do you think when Amazon and Apple inevitably launch cum perfect their scrolling comics, will they be any real competition to Webtoons, or will they even capture a fraction of the audience? Because Webtoons has filled an empty void for a long time. So now the competition is entering. It's very interesting.
I strongly suspect the answer is no to both. In part because I think Webtoon has had such a head start.
Yeah.
And also, I think what Webtoon has done that an Amazon or an Apple can't is they've had time to fill the smaller niches and find out what people want to see and then go towards that, as opposed to any newcomer, especially someone of an Amazon or an Apple. They will not have time to launch such a breadth of product.
Yeah.
And honestly, they're probably going to want to stay away from some of the weirder, smaller things, which is what makes like a platform like Webtoon so successful. Do you know what I mean? They're going to want to have like one big series.
Yeah.
You know, Amazon's going to want to be like, Robert Kirkman, will you redo Invincible for us as a strolling comic? And that's not going to be the same. No insult to Invincible, no insult to Kirkman, but it's one series that could never do that sort of thing.
That's super fascinating because I am very much of the school of thought that like more people in the pool is better. That we want as many people on any platform in any medium making as many things as possible, because then you'll bring more people to the art. But when it's an entity like Apple and Amazon, I also wonder if they're going to have the focus to be able to make their versions of Webtoons any good in a lot of ways, because like Webtoons is Webtoons because they have a very singular focus and they're driven towards that in a way that like Amazon and Apple have a broader
exactly. Webtoons does Webtoons.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's it. That's all they do.
Yeah.
And they can focus on doing everything that is necessary for that. Any vertical scroll initiative at Apple or Amazon is going to be a small part of a company that also wants you to buy their physical product, also wants you to buy their web services, also wants to sell you music, also wants to sell you a streaming television show, 70 different things. And so the comic part of it is going to be a tiny component that even if they throw all the money in the world at it, it's still going to be one small part of a larger system.
In a huge piece of irony, I believe the last time I opened up Amazon Prime, I saw an advert for a show streaming on Amazon Prime based on the popular webtoon.
Yeah, and you're going to we're going to see more of that, and that might be a sign that, again, that webtoon has become so big that you have the bigger companies being like, but if we own the company, then we own the material.
Yeah. I mean, webtoons, if even if you don't read them, their presence on the floor of New York Comic Con and these big events alone should let you know what a huge part of the market they're taking up.
And again, 85.6 million users from a year ago. They're possibly over 100 by this point. That's insane. Any Northern American publisher would genuinely kill to have that.
No, that's like some, romance novel New York Times bestseller list, like The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue level readers.
Just reference books I've never heard of, but yes.
You know what? It's one of the most popular books in the world, so you should read it.
I've just seen watching all this nerd stuff.
It's nerdy. There's time.
I say that, but I also am watching Love Island, so.
I know you're right. You gotta balance out. Okay, Graeme. Then let me ask you, what are you geeking out about that you're not working on?
Love Island USA, which is amazing. And I don't know if you're watching. I know you've watched other Love Islands. You and I have discussed Love Island Australia.
Always.
Have you watched Love Island USA?
No, because the accents to me are half the fun.
Oh boy, let me tell you. You and I share very similar feelings about Love Island contestants. Yeah. Maybe the greatest Love Island contestant ever is on this season of Love Island USA.
Better than Aaron?
Yes.
This is a discussion for only Graeme and I.
Hannah on Love Island USA. People who like trashy reality shows. It's on Peacock. You should catch up. You particularly should catch up.
Okay.
Yeah, no. Okay. Love Island USA is wonderful.
We can talk about that too, because it's not sad.
That's what I'm saying. But also, I've been rereading Deadline, which is why I'm wearing the Barbler t-shirt.
Heck yeah, that's a great shirt. Where did you get it from? A convention?
No, I got it from Philibon's online store.
Oh, fantastic! I feel like this is the second week in a row we've done.
We've talked about each other's t-shirts.
I know. Graeme, thank you so much for joining us.
Always.
Because you love doing this more than anything, where can people find you online?
You can find me on the internet. Please don't do that. I'm on Twitter at my first name and then the first letter of my last name. I'm not going to try and spell them. It's right there.
Hey, I made a lower third. It's almost sized correctly. Maybe by episode 30, I'll have figured it out. Graeme, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next week, yes?
Of course. I was going to give you this. I was going to give it both, but then you distracted me.
This should be our news.
Nanu.
Bye. Oh, my darling, dear friends, we've reached the end of the show. Thank you so much for joining me live on this Friday. Oh, but it's going to rain in Los Angeles. We're going to have the best time ever. If you want any information, if you want something to follow up on any of the stories that we have talked about today, if you go down into the description of this video right below, they will all be in there so that you can go and check everything out. Of course, you can always find everything that we talk about at thepopverse.com. Popverse is a virtual realm created by Read Pop, where we are celebrating the best in TV, movies, and comics. While you're over there, get yourself a Popverse membership so you never miss a ding-dang thing that we are getting up to each and every single day, even on the weekends. Plus, like I mentioned, New York Comic Con is coming up. I am going to be there. Graeme is going to be there. Everybody from Team Popverse is going to be there October 12th to 15th in New York City, the greatest city in the world. And I would love to see all of your beautiful, smiling faces over there. I have been your video host and producer, Ashley Victoria Robinson, here in the Popverse. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next time.